Early in Memento, in viewing order, Leonard needs a pen. He pats his jacket and nothing.
Have you got a pen?
In my purse.
She hands him one with no hesitation. Earlier the same day in story time, but later in viewing order, Natalie has just spent several minutes in her own living room verbally tearing Leonard apart. She knows he can't write any of it down. She tells him so directly. The taunt, paraphrased to keep this video advertiser friendly,
"Did you lose your pen? Oh, that's too bad, freak."
She names the curation out loud to his face. Then she walks out the front door, lets him forget, and walks back in with bruises she made him give her. Teddy is a lie. The Polaroid of Teddy says, "Don't believe his lies," across the white strip. That is the line most people walk out of the theater holding. But Leonard wrote that label, and Leonard cannot remember anything for longer than 15 minutes. The most repeated instruction in Memento was written by the least reliable witness in the film. On this channel, we break down the stories movies are actually telling underneath the surface, so subscribe. And the story Memento is telling about Natalie is a story you have already watched. It just runs in reverse, and the structure was built to keep you from seeing it the first time. Carrie-Anne Moss said it out loud in 2024 in an interview with Inverse about this character. Same scene we just walked through. She made him hit her, the actor naming the slap as orchestrated. So why do half of the plot summaries online still call Teddy the villain? The answer is in 3 pieces of evidence the film already showed you, plus a structural trick the film uses to make you miss them, starting with the pens. The smoking gun is a contradiction inside one chronological encounter at Natalie's house. On the same day, in the same room, 2 beats. The contradiction is the pens. The first beat is storytime first. It's in the living room confrontation. In viewing order, this scene comes later. Leonard is sitting on the coffee table in Natalie's living room looking at the Polaroids. Natalie bursts in, scared. She tells Leonard a man named Dodd is looking for Jimmy. The conversation escalates. Natalie pivots from frightened to cold. She starts taunting him, and in the middle of that escalation, she tells him point blank that he can't write any of it down.
"Did you lose your pen? Oh, that's too bad, freak."
That is Natalie, verbalizing the curation out loud to Leonard's face. She is composing the note he cannot write in her own voice, while telling him he won't remember her composing it. Then she just walks out the front door. After she leaves, the camera stays on Leonard. He starts panicking, internal monologue running. "Stay focused, find a pen, gotta write it down and concentrate." We watch him search the room, but he cannot find a pen. The room has been stripped. The second beat, storytime later, is the comforting scene we just looked at. In viewing order, it comes earlier. Same house, same Natalie, but now her face is bruised. Leonard is comforting her. He wants to take down a description of the man who attacked her. He pats his jacket and asks if she has a pen.
Have you got a pen?
In my purse.
The pen was never gone, it was always on her person. Think about that. The pen lives in Natalie's purse. She has it on her body throughout the entire encounter. The reason Leonard could not find one after the taunt is that Natalie had stripped the room and kept the pen with her. The reason he gets one minutes later, in story time, is that she's chosen to give him one for this specific use. The same pen with the same woman in the same house, minutes apart. And what is the use that gets a pen? Writing down Dodd's description so Leonard can go kill him. What is the use that does not get a pen? Well, Leonard taking a defensive note about Natalie. The pen comes out when Natalie wants Leonard to act on her information. The pen stays in the purse when Leonard might write a note about what is being done to him. That is condition-targeted cruelty. The taunt only works on a person with anterograde amnesia. Tell a regular guest you can't write a note about how much I hate you and the guest writes the note when they get home. The taunt only functions as cruelty if the target's memory is going to reset before he can leave the house. The setup proves she planned around his condition. She is verbalizing premeditation in real time. She is writing the note Leonard cannot in his head on his behalf while telling him he will not remember her doing it. Now, you might say, well, how do we know Leonard isn't an unreliable narrator here? Maybe Natalie put the pen away absent-mindedly and Leonard projected the cruelty. But here's the problem with that. The unreliable narrator frame applies to things Leonard recalls in monologue. The Sammy Jenkins story, his marriage, things that happen inside his head. The living room confrontation is shot in conventional third-person presentation style, with Natalie speaking her intent directly while Leonard is standing right there. That is not Leonard remembering anything. That is the film showing us what Natalie is saying. A film critic named Michael D'Angelo wrote about exactly this in Time Out New York in 2001, the year Memento came out. He said, and this is one quote, I got chills watching Natalie subtly but methodically collect every writing instrument in her apartment in preparation for one of the most diabolically sadistic assaults ever seen on a movie screen. 25 years ago, one critic noticed, but the majority of the rest of us missed it because the film's structure made us miss it. The audience meets Natalie's bruised, comforted version first, in viewing order, and her cold version later. By the time you watch him taunt her about the pen he doesn't have, you already filed her in the friendly column. I don't know if Natalie planned the exact slap walkout sequence, we'll get to it in a minute, or if she improvised when she saw the opening. The film doesn't really tell us that, but the pens were not in the room when the conversation started. That part is not improvisation, and the slap walkout is what comes next. Okay, back to the living room confrontation. The pen taunt has just landed. Natalie keeps escalating. Watch the rungs. The first rung is she insults his wife's character, in language we won't repeat here. Leonard then slaps her. She smiles, then speaks softly. Then the second rung. She invents a medical theory on the spot. She tells Leonard that his wife gave him a venereal disease and that's what caused his amnesia. She delivers it in the most degrading vocabulary she can find, aimed at both Leonard and his dead wife. The third rung is the cap. She tells him directly that she can say anything she wants because he won't remember any of it.
Sad freak. I can say whatever the fuck I want, and you won't remember. We'll still be best friends, or maybe even lovers.
Then it happens. He backhands her. He punches her in the mouth. He pushes her to the floor. He stands over her furious with himself as much as with her. And that last detail is in the screenplay direction, furious with himself. Leonard recognizes the second the punch lands that he has crossed the line. Natalie sees it too, and then she gets up. Her face is bloody and she smiles.
I'll see you soon.
She walks out the front door, gets into her car, and sits there, just waiting. That sit is the moment the film cracks open. Leonard's reset window is somewhere around 15 minutes. Natalie sits in her car until that window closes. Then she walks back into the house. Her face is still swollen and bloody. Leonard does not know any of what just happened.
What happened?
What does it look like?
She tells him a man named Dodd did this. The bruises came from Dodd. She has Leonard hand her a piece of paper and a pen, the pen now produced from her purse, and Leonard says this.
Just write it all down.
Natalie writes the note in her own hand and she hands it back to him. And again, that note is in Natalie's handwriting. The location of the kill is in her hand. The put him on to Teddy framing is in her hand. The get rid of him for Natalie instruction with Natalie's own name signed in the third person is in her hand. She authored the kill order. Leonard is the delivery system. But again, the bruises she used as evidence came from Leonard's own fists. She converted them in front of us into a third-party assault attribution and a killer frame instruction with her name on it. And this is what Carrie-Anne Moss confirmed in 2024. This exact sequence, the slap, the car, and the walk back in. The slap was a provocation she ran on purpose. The bloody face she walks back in with becomes the evidence she uses to script Leonard's next murder. This is showing, not telling. We watch Natalie do this in scenes in real time. Now, compare that to how the film delivers Teddy's manipulation. Teddy's longer arc plot against Leonard arrives as a monologue at the climax. He sits in a car and tells Leonard in exposition how he has been using him. We do not watch Teddy work the way we watch Natalie work. The film tells us about Teddy, but the film shows us Natalie. Now, I do want to tread carefully. The film does not establish that Natalie knows Teddy's real name is John Edward Gamble. There is a published essay by a writer named Colin Lowe from March 16th, 2011 called Against the Hype, which makes this point cleanly. Nothing in the film shows Natalie connecting Teddy with the John G she gives Leonard at the diner. That means the diner handoff is not concealed revenge against Teddy, it is something arguably worse. Watch the handoff. Natalie hands Leonard a brown envelope with a license plate trace, a registration, a license, and a photo. She writes in an address.
I added an address in here. It might be useful. It's an abandoned place outside of town. A guy I knew used to do bigger deals there. It's isolated.
Isolated. A guy she knew used it for bigger deals. She is handing Leonard a kill location in writing in an envelope alongside a target identification she has not personally verified is even the right John G. She declines payment, free of charge. Vengeance executed gratis under the cover of pity is not exoneration. It is a stronger indictment. Mercenary use at least values the tool being used. Free use values the tool at zero. Natalie sends Leonard at a stranger she has not confirmed is her boyfriend's killer, with the full knowledge that Leonard will probably kill whoever she names, and she does not bother to check, and she does not charge. The Polaroid, the Trinity intertext, the reverse chronology, there is a structural reason you missed this on first watch, and it was put there on purpose. The film has trained you from the first minute to trust Natalie and to distrust Teddy. There are 3 layers that stack here, and pulling them apart, the trick becomes visible. And once you see the trick, it becomes very obvious. First, Teddy. What puts Teddy in the villain slot is the Polaroid. Don't believe his lies. He is the one. Kill him. But the film never shows you Teddy at the original crime scene. No flashback or witness. No evidence placing him at the scene at all. The Polaroid is the only thing tying Teddy to the murder. And we watch Leonard write it himself. Near the end of the film, after Teddy reveals he's been using Leonard, Leonard sits in Jimmy's car and decides what to do with what he just heard.
You're John G, so you can be my John G. Do I lie to myself to be happy? In your case, Teddy, yes, I will.
You Can Be My John G is Leonard choosing Teddy, not because Teddy killed his wife, but because Teddy is convenient, because Teddy used him to kill Jimmy, because Leonard needs a target. Then Leonard writes "Don't believe his lies" on the Polaroid we've been staring at all film. We watch the manufacture of the only evidence against Teddy, and watch Teddy's behavior. In that same scene, Leonard says, "I should kill you," and Teddy says this.
Come on, what are you doing? You know what time it is? It's beer o'clock, I'm buying.
A man who just had Leonard kill the actual wife murderer does not invite Leonard out for beer. That is the behavior of a man who has spent a year managing Leonard and expecting the management to continue. And when Leonard does shoot Teddy at the abandoned building that opens the film, Teddy doesn't fight back. He doesn't run. He offers to walk Leonard down to the basement voluntarily to show him the truth. None of that is a man caught at his crime. Teddy is a corrupt cop, a manipulator, a man who used a brain-damaged guy to do his hitman work. But the wife's killer? The film doesn't show that. Leonard chose it. And now, the layers. The first layer is the Polaroid. There is a photograph of Teddy. Across the white strip at the bottom, and handwriting we've already watched Leonard produce on screen, are the 3 lines.
Don't believe his lies. He is the one. Kill him.
There's also a photograph of Natalie. Across the white strip at the bottom, in the same handwriting, are these words.
She has also lost someone. She will help you out of pity.
Both labels are written by Leonard. The film spends 2 hours teaching you that Leonard cannot be trusted to remember what he wrote 5 minutes ago, and then it asks you to take the labels he wrote on his Polaroids as the moral instructions of the film. The most repeated visual in Memento is a Leonard-written label, and the audience walks out of the theater taking the labels at face value. That is the film's deepest joke on the viewer. We are watching a film about a man who lies to himself constantly, and at the end we believe his Sharpie because the Sharpie is loud. Layer 2 is the casting. Christopher Nolan in Filmmaker magazine in the winter of 2001 talked about why he cast Joe Pantoliano as Teddy. Pantoliano gets the role because of, citing Nolan, quote, "the baggage he carries in from his other movies. He's already seen by audiences as this character actor who's always unreliable." That's Nolan literally telling us that he cast Teddy specifically to make audiences distrust him. The film is rigged at the casting level. Pantoliano's audience baggage is doing the work the script cannot do alone. The opposite trick is doing the same work for Natalie. 2 years before Memento, Carrie-Anne Moss played Trinity in The Matrix, the love interest, the one who pulls Neo through. Audiences who walked into Memento in 2001 had spent 2 years loving Trinity. Moss carries that into the theater. The casting calculus mirrors precisely, and both actors came from the Matrix film. One actor brought distrust capital, and the other brought trust capital. Both were leveraged against you. And the femme fatale Moss is playing is a new kind. She doesn't need to seduce Leonard or build trust over time, she just needs to survive his reset window. The amnesia gives her infinite second chances. And layer 3 is the structure of the film. Reverse chronology. Memento's color thread runs backwards and the black and white thread runs forward, and the two meet in the middle. Because the color thread runs backwards, the audience meets Natalie in her bedroom, comforting Leonard before the audience sees the slap walkout. By the time we watch the slap walkout, we have already absorbed 20 minutes of Natalie being the soft place Leonard rests his head. Show versus tell. Teddy tells, Natalie shows, and the film hands you the showing in the wrong order on purpose so the telling lands harder. Reverse chronology is an empathy laundering machine. The strongest published opposition to this take is a researcher named Catherine Weiss in Story World 7.1 2015. Weiss argues that the cruel Natalie interpretation is a measurable cognitive misreading produced by audiences confabulating cause and effect from the reverse narrative structure. Her conclusion is that Natalie is fundamentally unreadable. Weiss is partly right. She is right that audiences confabulate a revenge plot Natalie did not execute. The film does not require that revenge plot. this theory doesn't require it either. What this theory does require is observable on-screen behavior. The pens, the slap, the bloody face Dodd framing, the kill instruction note in Natalie's own handwriting, plus 3 creative voices on record. Nolan with the Pantaleano baggage casting, and Moss with both the cruelty admission and the orchestrated slap admission, and Jonathan Nolan with the source story. That last one is worth surfacing properly. Memento is based on a short story called Memento Mori, published by Jonathan Nolan in Esquire, March 2001. The story is built around an amnesiac character named Earl. Earl is alone. There is no Natalie in the story. The bartender or the bedroom in the barbette, nor the bloody-faced Dodd frame exist in the original. The entire manipulation architecture is Christopher Nolan's screenplay invention. He added the woman who hands Leonard the kill list. Natalie is not inherited, she is built. So Teddy and Natalie are both manipulating Leonard, but they operate on different levels. Teddy's manipulation is parasitic. He works through the lies Leonard has already chosen to believe, and as we just saw, Leonard explicitly chose to believe Teddy was John G. The self-deception is Leonard's. Teddy is exploiting a system Leonard willingly maintains. Natalie's manipulation is predatory. She does not need Leonard to believe anything. She works through the raw neurological deficit. The pens and the slap, the note in her hand, none of it requires Leonard's consent. It only requires his mental condition. Both are bad, but one requires Leonard's complicity, the other does not. The film's reverse structure makes you flip the ranking anyway. You walk out of the theater with Teddy in the villain slot, even though the on-screen behavior cuts the other direction. Teddy is a lie, and Natalie proves it. And thank you so much for watching, and YouTube really thinks you'll like this theory, so go check it out.